can stick their paws in there and get cut. They can get injured running across the road. There can be a mouse in there trying to get that, and one of the birds of prey can be swooping down and get hit by a car because they're going after that. Also, when there's cracks in the can, it's a great spot where water can pool up for mosquitoes to breed. And we don't need any more mosquitoes around here. We have enough of them. And this takes 200 years to decompose. You guys know what decompose means? Goes back to the earth. So 200 years before it's going to do that. Next one. You see what's wrapped around the little turtle's neck? You know what that is? What's that? Soda cans, right. And if you saw the movie Happy Feet, you saw a penguin walking around with a six-pack holder on its neck. That really happens in real life with wildlife. We've seen pictures of turtles that have crawled into these, and they end up hitting deformed shells because as they grow, this is so tight around them, it deforms their shell. That's how they have to live their whole life. We suggest that you cut holes in these, so if these do blow out of your recycle bin or somebody throws them out, something can't crawl in there. These are very dangerous. Birds like these for nesting material too, and will often bring them back to their nests. This is 400 years to decompose if it gets out in our environment. Next. Now Isaiah's holding up a yogurt container. It's much like the soda container. Most of the time we still leave little bits of yogurt in there, and those animals still like to get in there. This one, if you look closely at the size of it, the top of it, smaller than the bottom. So if something sticks his head in there, most likely he's not going to be able to get it out. Here in Connecticut this summer, we had a raccoon that crawled into a peanut butter container. 3 days, he walked around with that on his head. He could not get it off. Nobody could catch it. It was up a tree. Finally, he got it off, so that was a happy ending. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and they will die. They'll suffocate because they can't eat, they can't breathe when that gets on their head. So a couple of things we can do to help if it does get out in the environment. We can cut slits on the side of it, so if something puts their head in there, it can pull it back out. Or something fun for you guys in the front row in the front here. Put it on the ground and squish it. Your parents will love it. Especially if there's still yogurt in there, you get it all over. So that's 450 years if that gets out into our environment. Next. Can you see what's wrapped around this eagle's nest? Neck? What is it? Fishing line, that's right. It's actually illegal in the state of Connecticut to leave fishing line out there. I love to go fishing. How many of you guys like to fish? It's a lot of fun, huh? You ever get a snarl when you're casting? Get a snarl in your line pretty easily. It's really quick, easy solution is to throw it on the ground. Don't do that. Really dangerous. This did happen in Massachusetts several years ago. A mother eagle brought fishing line back to the nest and actually strangled her baby. There's ospreys down on the shoreline. Alan was talking about those fish hawks, those bigger birds that eat fish. They will sometimes be hanging off their platforms down at the shoreline. There was a great horned owl in West Hartford wrapped up in fishing line. So it's very dangerous. At Horizon Wings, we had a goslin come in a few years ago that had fishing line wrapped around its tongue, its wing, and its leg. One leg was twice the size of the other one. It was so swollen. First thing we did was we brought it to the doctor, to the vet, and they x-rayed it to make sure it didn't swallow a hook. And it didn't. So Mary Beth unwrapped everything. The next morning he was running around all happy. So we were able to release him back out there. But fishing line is extremely dangerous. They think it's great nesting material, the birds do. It's easy for wildlife to get wrapped up in that. That's 600 years for that to decompose if it's out in our environment. Next. Isaiah's holding a balloon here with string hanging off of it. Again, it's against the law to release these up into the air. For you kids, when you release something up in the air, what goes up? It's going to come down someplace. And wildlife is going to like that. Much like the fishing line, this string gets very dangerous. They like to bring it back to the nest. They can get tangled up in it. This balloon right here that Isaiah's holding has a story. It's not about wildlife. It's about Mary Beth and Alan's pet. They had a puppy. They have a fenced-in backyard where that puppy should be safe. One morning, Mary Beth called the puppy. He had something in his mouth. He tried to swallow it immediately because he didn't want Mary Beth to see what he had. It was this balloon. So her puppy could have got very sick from this out in the environment. Those Mylar balloons that we have at parties, the silver ones, They never decompose. So if they get out in our environment, they're gonna stay there. Next. And the last thing Isaiah is holding is our plastic shopping bags. If Isaiah turns it upside down and does this with it, and if it gets out in the ocean and it's floating like this, does anyone know what that looks like? What's it look like?
Jellyfish?
Jellyfish, right. What likes to eat jellyfish? Anybody? Turtles, whales, dolphins. There was a whale that washed up on the coast of Oregon a couple years ago, a single whale. They wanted to know what happened to that whale. Why did he die? They opened him up to find out what was going on, and there was 12 of these bags in his stomach. So he died from eating these plastic bags. So these are very dangerous. They're 1,000 years to decompose. They're made of oil. And we here in America, average family of 4, we use 88.5 billion of these bags every year. It takes 12.5 million barrels of oil to make these bags, and we only recycle less than 1% of them. So these are very dangerous. If you drive down the road, I bet you can count some of these on the side of the road or up in the trees. They're all around. And instead of using these, another option, next, is to use these recycled bags. They're available at most stores now. They're very strong. They're not going to use any oil, and they're good for the environment. Raise your hand, how many of you guys recycle? You recycle? Give yourselves a round of applause. Good job.